All right, in this lesson, we're going to look at the main differences between the male and the female figure. Now, this is true not for manga and anime, but also for American comics and pretty much anything you're going to draw the human figure on. So when you're drawing the female, it doesn't matter what pose we give her, we're going to stick that same 7 head tall figure. So just keep a front view here for now. Again, draw everything the same way we did before. If you have the hips in here and stuff like that. First, just kind of draw a generic shape. So again, we're drawing the arms down to the hip area. You're going to divide from shoulder to wrist. That's where we're going to fit in our rib cage. And then the next thing is have the legs come out here and then come all the way down to the feet. Divide from crotch to the bottom of the feet, and we'll have a dividing line, and that will be where you have your legs. So right now we just have very basic generic shapes here. Right, now once you have that down, let's go ahead and figure out, well, how do we change, what are the main differences when we want to turn this from male to female that we draw between them. The main difference is that when you draw the male, you're going to have wider upper body, and it's going to kind of taper down to your crotch area. You're going to have thinner hips in here. Right, so just like this right here would be the rib cage area. This is the hip area. So the hips are going to be straight and narrow. Kind of have them come down like this, and the legs are going to be straight at first. And then you're going to have, so that's the main difference right there. First is you have that V shape. With the female, you have the opposite. You have this shape where it comes wide down here, and the triangle comes up this way. So you imagine it that way. So to exaggerate that then, what we're going to do between this male and female is take the hips out here and push them out. That is, take the femur bone and push the femur bone out like this. And this is going to allow us to have our love handles are going to kind of mold right into our outer leg here if we add more fatty tissue onto her. That's the widest part of the female body, is right there at the femur bones. That's the leg bone. So the widest part isn't at the hip crest here, it's actually at the femur bone right here where the crotch is. So you can imagine for your basic shape here, a kind of mini skirt shape like this for the female. And then the legs are going to fit onto that and come down like so. With men, it's a little different. We're going to have our crotch coming up. At the halfway line, the femur bone isn't going to come out as far, so we're going to have something like this. The widest part is going to be up here at the shoulders, and this is really exaggerated, more buff kind of character, but I just want to show the main differences. So kind of have the collarbones coming out like this. Give them some big trap muscles back here, and so forth. We'll have the shoulders fitting in here. We're still going to draw the arm coming down the same. We're keeping the poses still generic, so they're easy to draw for now. We'll start learning how to pose the character soon. Again, you divide that in half both times, and then kind of like a circle now, like an oval rather, for the deltoids. Right, and then we kind of use this basic shape right here for the pec muscles for now. Like so. So now you can see the main differences already between male and female. V, or the triangles up and down. When you draw a female, it's easier to draw this first, this kind of peanut shape here first. You kind of see how it kind of has that shape there. And with a man, it kind of has a shape more like this, like the opposite peanut shape. It goes the other way around. The small end's down here, you just flip it around. But if you draw that shape first, it's easier to draw the female to do that and then add breasts onto her. She can have smaller breasts, she can have larger breasts. It's all up to you, what kind of body she has. But that basic shape is the structure that does not change. Also in manga, women typically always have smaller necks and really small shoulder areas. So we'll keep her shoulders really tiny like this here, and this is going to be her arm, like that. Breasts usually cover part of their arm in manga. And in American comics, it's not so common that the women have these narrow shoulders. It's usually the shoulders are usually more of realistic proportions. Breasts are also a lot higher in manga, typically, than in real life. The same is true also for American comics, though. Right, so there you go. That's the main differences between male and female. And then it just comes down to the curvaceousness of the body. So the other main differences are that I'm going to actually give him, wider stance here. The other main differences is that you'll have oops, let's make that triangle a little more. The other main difference between the male and the female is that you will have curvaceousness. The man will have more angled, drawing. The drawing is usually more angled. The muscles are more angled. He's gonna have muscular tone. Even if he's a thinner guy, he's still gonna have some more angles to his body, unless you want the guy to look more effeminate. But still, he's gonna have this structure here, even if he's a skinny male, than this structure here. Let's go ahead and kind of erase some of this so we can kind of see how this kind of looks when you plug it in to a female figure. I keep the nudity to a minimum in my courses. Not that nudity is bad. I mean, it's normal to learn nudity when you're learning art, but actually, I'm just going to draw her crotch like this, and then belly would be down here. Some of the leg line. Right, so like that. That's the main difference between the male and the female as far as shapes go. One other quick thing I'd like to do is just draw a skinny male, just to show you how that would work. So when you're drawing a skinny male, it's just like drawing the large male, and it's a lot like drawing a female as well. But first, we're going to just kind of keep the shapes here kind of skinny. So if we kind of start here, his shoulders aren't going to go out as far because he's a skinnier male. We'll give him kind of still the wide-armed look. So kind of give him a little bit of pose here. Notice that his femurs stay pretty much the same as his hip width, whereas females would come out further like that, so she has this kind of mini skirt shape. His stay pretty much the same. The other main difference too is the shape here. His leg muscles are going to be buffed like this when they come down. That's to be the shape if they're buffer legs. Next is we have to do the halfway point. I probably should have kept that more slender. I drew it over here, but oh well. Give him a thinner neck. Right, so this is a thinner body and manga. He's going to have chest muscles kind of like that. And then we still keep that rib cage going in here. The rib cage is going to come to right about here. The love handles. Right, so you can see he has this slender look here, and then he's going to have these long, thin legs. And actually, let's go ahead and give him this more cooler look right here as well. As you can see, that right there would be the skinny male. So just keep in mind that women always have hips unless they're really, really young kids. Even then, all the way until like age 11 sometimes, they'll still have a slight bit of hip. So, the hip of an adult is like this, right? Has this more mini skirt shape, whereas a child, it might be, if you have, like, let's say first you have your hip shape here, when you have your femurs come out, they're not going to come out as far, so they're going to be like more like this. But they still come out a little bit. They're not going to be straight like a male's. They're still going to come out a little bit. And they're going to kind of come down like that. All right, so that covers the main differences between male and female. And next lesson, we're going to cover how to take the figure and imagine it more like a three-dimensional figure. We kind of discussed a little bit here in the three-force view. We're going to go a little bit further into that and how to imagine the mannequin as a three-dimensional object. That way we can get a little bit more understanding about foreshortening of the figure, and that way when we get into drawing poses after that, you can pose your mannequin easier by understanding the three-dimensionality of the objects. And then only when you can start posing the mannequin do you want to start getting into anatomy and taking your mannequins, taking your figures to that next level where now you can add in more realistic anatomy and things like that.